Up guys, this is part 3 to what if Issei and Saji swapped masters. I know it's basically evolved into a whole nother what if, but that's what we're going with for the title of this one. Now, admittingly, I ended off the last video with them fixing up that pool and everything. This one will take place directly after. As in, it's been like 1 day since that happened. And this is when Issei gets told, hey Issei, it's summer break, we're gonna have to go to the demon world. Hearing this kinda sucks ass, since he was kinda hoping something else. But this is when a big kinda difference would have to occur. You see, Issei gets off one stop before Sona, like one stop before Rias, and that's at the Sona Peerage domain. Thing is, I'm going to say that because I'm going to say it takes half an hour, between things, so I'm going to say half an hour is way more than the fight's going to take. But in this version, Sona isn't there. Neither is Issei, because, well, Seraphil basically told them, hey, we need you two to come with us, and yada yada yada. What's going to happen is we're going to have a big-ass Dragon King attack the group to prove that y'all ain't shit without you two. Basically, the queen's gonna have to take the order of the king and basically do that shit, and every other piece is gonna have to fight. This is when Issei straight up said, that's stupid as fuck. Why? Simple. If you haven't guessed, Sona's peerage isn't made for violence. I am, but they aren't. And admittingly, if it was made for violence, maybe they could. But even Rias' peerage is fucked over if they fight a Dragon King without their heavy hitters. You took away the heaviest hitter and the smartest piece. I don't have any doubt that they're going to be able to still fight, but it's not going to go as easy. Alright, well, we'll see. We still have a Dragon King going to fight them. So in other words, we're going to vanish because of that shit, right? If I see shit's getting too real for something funny, I'm stepping in, though. That's completely fine. We don't mind if you do. This is when Azazel said, I'll be right back. I have to go take a break real quick. That's because he is talking to the Dragon King Tannen. Tannen being like, really? Fine, I'll do it. This is going to scare the shit out of him, though. It's going to be funny as hell. And right when they basically go out of the thing, on their stop, they're about to stop. But this is when they're completely flabbergasted. They're usually where they would just teleport away. They weren't able to just teleport away. What the fuck's going on? Issei's missing, so is Sona. And they couldn't just be playing a little game of hide the sausage or nothing, because no one can feel their energy. They feel slight traces of Issei's as if it was chained up. Which makes zero sense, because it would take at least Great Red to do this. This is when they see Tannen start to laugh. Ha ha ha. An almost demonic, creepy-ass dragon laugh. He starts breathing fire at them. This is when that entire peerage starts doing their damnedest to fight. This is when they're wondering where the fuck is Drake, because, you know, he's Issei's steed. Sure, he's in his cuter familiar form, which is basically just a tiny little, well, lizard. Which can still appear out of nowhere and become the big-ass dragon if it wants to. But still, they can't find Drake anywhere. This is when you hear a giant roar coming from Tannen, as meteors seem to strike at the earth whenever he hits. The rooks got sent flying, the knights got speed blitzed, the bishops got out magicked, basically with just a fire breath, and the queen herself, using Mirror Alice, was able to deal some damage, but very fucking little, because Tannen was using very fucking little of his own energy. But this is when they did something unexpected. Tannen hit as hard as he fucking could for one blow. Issei, feeling that he was just going to scare the shit out of them, but noting where he was going to swing, may have the area blow up on them. So Issei appeared, catching it in dragon form, making Tannen's dragon form look like a fucking child. Sending him flying with one tail sweep. This is when Tannen's like on the ground looking like he just got his ass beat by Great Red or something, basically being knocked clean the fuck out. Issei basically said, Azazel. Azazel saying, yeah, get the fucking Phoenix here. Okay. As this is when Azazel would appear saying, alright, as this is when he states that, well, he wasn't here to actually hurt y'all. He just wanted to, like, scare the shit out of you, noting that you're not strong enough to do what you want to do. Y'all may think you tough shit, but you're not tough enough for this. This is when Issei said something unexpected. By the way, Tannen, that punch could have killed them if it went anywhere near them. What the fuck? Tannen simply saying that was a full force punch to show them how overly screwed they were. And he wasn't trying to hurt them with it. He wasn't even aiming in their general directions. This is when Issei pointed to what was in the exact direction Tannen was about to punch in. The rocks above it. Tannen looking up, surprised, saying, oh, there were. Yes, a dragon your age should know better. Even if that would have sent all the rocks flying, there's a chance that they would have came down. And if that would have happened, I swear on everything in existence, I would have beat your ass worse than anything you could have ever felt before. It will have Great Red, Ophis, and all the other dragon gods trying to pull my ass off of you while I'm beating the shit out of you. Do you understand me? Tannen saying, yes, Issei. Or, sir, Issei. Treating him like, well, a god, as he is. As this is when the wind starts to howl around him. They're saying, what the hell? As Great Red started to actually laugh his ass off watching this, saying, you shit your pants, Tannen. Tannen saying, yeah. Crying like a wuss because he's never felt this kind of aura before. Issei's putting out sheer intent to kill. That's something that even, well, Issei would be that's something that even, like, Great Red would be shitting himself around, but Issei's doing it to Tannen, who's terrified, honestly. This is when he basically flapped away saying, oh, fuck this, I'm not training with these fuckers. Azazel saying, hold on, Tannen, as Tannen flew away. Look, I'll be there for the next stop, don't tell Rias. Issei's starting to laugh, saying, hey, Sona, let's throw it over there so we can talk to, like, Sona and, like, Rias and the others. Azazel, you set that shit up, too, for them to have to deal with that. This one, Issei said, don't worry, I'll hold the other guys under control, but don't worry, I may have to step in again. Tannen kind of scared, using the exact person he was against Sona's peerage, noting that they're actually winning against him like this. He's using so little amount of power. By the way, what he was using was less than 1,000% in the original version. And that's kind of not changed. Only in this version without an issei to back up most of the hits. As he's basically throwing these punches, knowing that if any of the dragon gods stepped in, Tannen would be on his ass instantly. And being that this is when they're wondering where's the familiars, as this is when you hear something they weren't expecting. They hear Ossia yell, sheer lightning. As this is when her little familiar come out to protect her, Issei. Issei came out and just hit him with the biggest fucking lightning bolt he could make. That little fucker just straight up lit up the Dragon King. A king of dragons, saying, oh, nice one, little one. But now you die, as he basically was scaring the shit out of Issei. Charging up a little bit of a fire blast, so little that while it wouldn't kill Issei, it would send him flying. Easy. Easy as shit. This is when basically scaring the entirety of that peerage, thinking Issei just died, Akeno roared out with a bolt of lightning that made even the strongest lightning bolt that was done by her own father look, well, comparable. As it struck the Dragon King, it stood strong. This is when she basically was giving orders, and surprisingly enough, Konako was still in a daze. And as the tail hit her, she was sent flying into the rocks and bleeding profusely from her head. Issei kind of cracking his neck, saying, "Alright, I'm about to step in." This is when the guys were basically holding him back, saying, "Hold on, I get you like them, but if you step in now, they're going to think you'll always be there to step in." Look, I did the same shit with Sona's peerage. And he's about to throw a punch. He's actually about to throw an attack strong enough to actually kill someone. This is when Tannen did another one just like it before. Well, in this version, he wasn't anywhere where they could have rocks falling on them. He threw this punch he used 50% of his full strength, which is already enough to make anyone other than like the Dragon Kings shit themselves. As this punch was about to connect with the rocks to send him everything flying, with a roar of flame around him, this is when Issei would step in. Though noting Tannen didn't have to have the same thing, but still catches Tannen's punch with one hand, in dragon form, and he's doing this because of what Tannen said to Issei. Looking down at him the way he was at Issei, saying the exact words. "You had the audacity to strike me. That was a good one, child, but now you must die." As he does a roar with flames behind it that made Tannen basically look like a roasted chicken. Tannen huffing out smoke as he's completely on the fucking ground. Them being like, "Why is Issei here?" As this is when Azazel said, "I'm coming," flying in and basically dropping a phoenix tear on Tannen, saying, I'm done with the training, I'm out of here." "Stop," Issei said, and basically commanding him to stop. Tannen instantly stopped his movement and basically bowed to the god of dragons right in front of him. This is when Issei simply just states, "Look, you will need to train a little bit with them. Mainly you will need to train with Issei. Don't worry, we'll be training with you as well, and even Great Red was willing to help you a little bit." "Wait, Great Red's going to train me? I'm a Dragon King. What more training do I need? You're not a dragon. You're not a heavenly dragon, though. Besides, Vitra's going to be there." Oh, damn it. That fucking absorption line's annoying as hell. True, but you're not one to talk. Anyway, let's go. Fine. As this is when, surprisingly enough, Issei actually went over to the side of Issei to do what he needed to do, wanting to become stronger to protect Asya. Since, he did just get baked by, well, a dragon god, noting that this kind of pissed off Issei a little bit. As this is when we're going to do the whole thing. They do their training. 1 month of training proceeds. Issei just called up Ophis and Great Red and said, "Hey, could y'all come here to the underworld real quick?" Basically showing his power flexing so he could, show them where he is. They say, "Sure, we're on it." They go there. Volley was brought by Ophis. Volley, who is with Albion, riding in like he's some tough shit. Being Dragon King, now he can go into his own dragon form, but he prefers not to. And it's very rare for someone who's a Dragon King to hold any power over a dragon, a heavenly dragon or anything. And that's why it's so weird for Albion. Like, he knows this is his partner, but he has to basically be a horse to a human. It makes no fucking sense. So he decided something he wasn't going to expect, that they weren't going to expect. Like a horse and human, he was far stronger than the person who rode him. Which only made sense. As this is when Issei said something unexpected. "Look, Drake, I'll be honest. We need y'all's help. What? Look, Tannen 2 and even Vitra, Validon, and Fag. I need both of you to come here too. What do you need? The two roar out. Look, y'all are just about Dragon King level, so train with the Dragon Kings. Alright. You two, you're heavenly dragons. Spar with each other. We're probably going to our training in the Dimensional Gap, though, since, we may just kill everyone in the underworld if we were to fight here. Grey Red, me and you. Come on. It's going to be an us two fight. Saji, you versus Ophis. Ophis, get your fucking snakes. Ophis basically called them all back to her, said, alright. Saji, no using your bullshit. What do you mean? Look, you ain't got your gear anymore, I know, but still. I see the rings y'all have in y'all's pockets. Wait, what? Look, it's obvious. Y'all were planning on using them for training, but if you're against someone you can't beat, you're probably gonna throw it on them. Mitsuda, Moto, Hanma, I can already tell y'all's plan. Y'all weren't gonna wear them, but y'all were gonna fight each other when I said to. But when y'all felt that you were losing, one would throw the band. Y'all would both kind of throw it at once and clock each other's arms down. Although, admittingly, it wouldn't do very much to us right now, but still, it's going to be annoying. So we're that easy to figure out? Oh, I've known you for years. You're that easy for me to figure out. Okay. As issei simply said, now. For the training, we got 1 month. Also, this, pointing directly towards Issei, this is Issei. Asia's familiar. Also, a sprite dragon. Grey Red saying, what's with the little one? Why is it even here, though? Simple. It wants to get stronger. I can feel the rage of a dragon burning within it. Obviously, since it is still a dragon, even if it is small. Well, it's a baby dragon. What do you want us to do? We're going to train with it. How? Are we going to hold back so it won't die of our punches? No. What do you mean? We're going to train it to fight like a true dragon should. You mean we're going to make this little sprite dragon on the same level as at least a high-class dragon. High class being right underneath Dragon King. You're crazy. We only have a month. That's why I've decided on something special. What do you mean? Ophis, I hate to say this, but you're the most maternal of our group. Sure, you have next to zero emotions, but you've shown a few. Grey Red, you're the biggest threat here. So I'd ask you to mainly I ask both of you to just bestow a little bit of power to it. You're asking us to grant it some of our strength. How much? Equivalent to one of her snakes. Ophis saying, you want me to give it one of my snakes? Not quite. I want you to give it just as much strength as a snake takes. So you're giving it just a little bit of your magic. All right. They all give it just a little bit of magic, and even Tannen giving it a god apple. Well, not a god apple, obviously, but a dragon apple, which is kind of the same shit. A dragon apple is basically this amazing fruit that dragons fucking love. Sprite dragons especially. Though they don't live exclusively off of it, some weaker dragons do. This is when Tannen would actually have shown that he brought a whole bundle of them, so everyone would get 2 of them. This is when he states that the little one will be getting 3. Issei saying, makes sense. Little one probably needs it more than us. Anyway, let's get our training on. They all kind of show, now seeing that the little baby dragon is now kind of the strongest among them for its age to strength ratio. Even that above, well, Issei, who's got the best age to strength ratio. As this is when you hear a lightning shot that Great Red even has to tank, since this is on the level of a Dragon King. Volley kind of pissed off. He's a Dragon King, but this little baby dragon is able to beat his ass. And he's basically the one who has to spar with the baby dragon. Thinking that Issei would be an easy opponent, just getting his ass whooped repetitively. Both of them coming out far stronger than they were before. Actually, the entire group does. Great Red, showing he was already damn near infinity in strength, but he was already above infinity, the Dragon of Infinity in strength, so he's not weak by any means. Ophis, who was the Dragon of Infinity, showing that she's not weak in any means, but now she's as strong as Great Red was. Great Red being just a little bit stronger. Issei, who's now known as the strongest being in existence, standing right above Great Red with his power bulging. Right beneath Great Red is where the three of his friends are. Saji, Mitsuda, then Moto Hanma, in that order. This is where Volley stands. Right after, well no, actually, it's Mitsuda, Moto Hanma. Then you have, well, Ophis herself. Then is where you have Volley, who basically got the best increase in power other than, Issei. This is where Volley's kind of happy. He's on the level of a Dragon King. But he's still not even what Ophis was. This is where right then is Drake and Albion, whose power have reached just under that of Volley, who is just a hair underneath that of, well, Ophis, originally at least. And this is when we look to see that there's not only this, as this is where Flag and Validon show their strength, being actually heavenly dragon level. And the exact same strength as them is, well, Tannin and Vitra. Vitra is showing that its strength is actually heavenly dragon level, and they're actually almost on the level of the Drag. They're basically as strong as Drake and Albion were in the beginning. This is where Issei is, showing that he's now above that of the Dragon Kings, but not quite Heavenly Dragon. A little bit weaker, but he's also grown about to be about 5 meters big, 5 meters long, and around 10 meters across with its wingspan. And now it's on all fours with its ability to stand up as well. And its lightning shocks are actually strong enough to actually overwhelm that of almost anyone. At this point, a dragon is almost untamable at their strength. The strength that these, well, have. And even Issei would be near untamable for anyone who wasn't, well, on the level of the gods. But because Asuka already tamed him, he's kinda, still loving and protecting of her above all else. And this is where we get to see the strongest of the strongest of everyone, really, who got increased. Seeing that Kiba and Gasper, their speed and strength have increased to the point where, even without time stopping, Gasper is hard to see enough. And he can use a flash, and with magic power like his, it's like getting hit by an overwhelming flurry of attacks. And with the ability to stop someone in their tracks, the only ones who could defeat him are on the Dragon God team, where they are the Dragon group. Even Issei would struggle, and it would be close to a fair fight, but just beneath. The swordsmanship of Kiba got to the point where he's almost an untouchable opponent, even being given something he wasn't expecting. He was given armor. The original armor that, well, it does belong to a gear. called the Devil Slayer armor, worn by a fallen angel. It has technically a spirit in it, but not quite. It was the forming of 3 high-class beings: an angel, a devil, and a fallen angel. Because of, well, his strength, they chose it to be best suiting for him. The both light and dark blade kind of makes it easier, and kind of matches, since it's kind of all through the spectrum. There's black, there's white, and there's gray, all on the armor. But with the black and white sword being what he uses mainly. This is when we get to see something unexpected. This is when we get to see that they are actually now having to go to a ball once their month has ended. Issei being now on the level of a steed for Asuya instead of just someone that could rest on her shoulder. Since, that's what Issei used to do. It would always sit on her shoulder like a little fucking parrot. Now, she basically rides it. Admittingly, not quite easily, since while Issei did grow a little bit because of all the power it gained, it's still only a month older. And now it can actually speak like a regular dragon. Though admittingly, weaker dragons rarely were able to speak. Being that that's something that dragon gods gave the ability to, it can do whatever the fuck it wants. Issei saying, "Hello, Asuya. It's been a good minute, hasn't it? It's amazing to see you, but I'm kind of surprised." "What's so surprising?" "Well, you really haven't gotten that much stronger." As this is when Issei uses his new ability, called Lightning Armor, as he was covered in scale mail, basically, an armor made of lightning. But Asuya was given the same thing, although hers was a little bit different than Issei's. To be honest with you, his was all dragonic and looks like a Juggernaut drive, but smaller. And simply put, it's just not on the same level of a drive. By no means is it weak, but not quite on that same level. Alright guys, I'm back. I'm sorry if there isn't great audio quality, but here we go. This is when Issei would actually decide something unexpected. Its armor perfectly fitting Asuya, since, it is Issei's master. This is when Issei showed that that's basically easy technique to do, but Issei now has the title Issei, the Armored Dragon. Now, that does give it some kind of props, and it's now the Dragon King. The Heavenly Dragons, the ones on the level of Heavenly Dragons are still by the name Dragon King, but not quite Dragon King weaklings like they were. But back to What If. This is when they would go to that whole thing. Issei still being out of the room because he went to follow Konako, who basically was following the scent of her sister. Being that Volley is kind of acquainted with her because, basically is treated like her master, Volley straight up says, "Hey, could you do me a favor and hold on a second?" This is when Volley would ask if she would, talk to her sister more. And being that Issei basically says halt to, Kuroka fucking listens. Because she has no other choice. She has to listen to Issei, or she could be ripped apart in an instant by the dragon community. But this is when Issei basically tells her he can basically make it where she's no longer wanted as a criminal, since, he did kind of disband the entirety of that group. And Volley is basically an acquaintance of his. And hearing this, Kuroka is actually very happy to hear it. She would be super excited for this since she gets to finally hang out with her sister. And even Issei talked about getting her a place in Kuo, which he could do with minimal effort. And he does. He gets her a place right next to his own, which is where all the girls now stay. But this will only happen after the fact of the movement. After they get back. This is when Issei was still one of the people who was sent. This is when Issei heard about Loki, saying, why didn't y'all just beat his ass? And we were told not to intervene by the All-Father, since, we could have, easily done it, and he thought we weren't. He didn't know who we were, basically. Wait, really? So Zex, you didn't tell the All-Father who he was? Who they are? I didn't get the chance. Alright, well, look, we'll talk to him later. By the way, so we have to go deal with Loki now, don't we? Of course. Fine. Alright, the group should basically just be me, the Dragon Boys, and yo, Kiba, come here. Yo, what's up? Come on. Gasper, you too. Gasper comes along, and this is when Rias and Sona said, we don't want to be left behind. We want to go too. Fine, y'all can come. As they did. This being the entire group, though. And this is when Issei finally decided, let's go. The first thing that happened is that serpent still appeared, the world-sized serpent that could basically wrap around the world. Yeah, it appears. Issei basically looks down at he knows it's a Dragon King, but he also knows that he's pimp-slapped Dragon Kings that were far stronger than this. This is when, surprisingly enough, Astia sent Issei with them, which wasn't very difficult since Issei could straight up just go with Issei, since it didn't take that much magic to do. As they basically appear, Issei straight up just scares the shit out of Loki, as he's in dragon form. So are the other guys. Surprisingly enough, Rias being on top of Saji. Not like because, master servant thing, still. And Sona being on top of Kiba. Being on top of Issei. And Gasper being on top of, Mitsuda. And Motohanma basically having... Motohanma has Kiba on his back. But surprisingly enough, even though they have them on their back, there is one who, Issei, he has someone on his back as well. Even though he's not as big as the rest of the dragon gods, there is someone who chose to ride his back. That would be the Cyberorg. Cyberorg doing this, since he needs a steed as well. And this is when Loki would straight up just appear and be like, hey, me and, my team just wants, this little puppy. Basically talking about Fenrir. Fenrir basically about trying to rip his head off as the blade pierces his skull. Excalibur ruler. His ethereal body, and once it's pulled out, he's basically a puppy and goes with them. This is when those two other ones, Issei using his own power to basically turn them into puppies as well, since, he's technically a ruler of everything, and doing the same for the serpent. Now, basically, it choosing to basically serve as Issei's own thing, as did the other dogs, but he didn't need another familiar, so he was wondering, how would his group be with dogs and a snake, since that's their smaller forms? Surprisingly enough to him, it worked, as this is when the two knights would actually take up on the offer, and basically get the two dogs. You wouldn't think that they were gods, but yeah. The snake goes to the queen, since, not a big deal. This is when they know that there's, 4 other people on that peerage other than Sona herself. And Sona, I'm going to say, I'm not sure if Sona does have, a familiar, but I'm going to say she does. It's a regular-ass familiar, not a big deal, but still. And this is when Issei decided to use it. He used his full ability, and straight up just pimp slaps Loki. Even catching Mjolnir in his human form, and slapping Loki around with it. This is when he basically threw it back to the Allfather. Allfather saying, I'm not the wielder of that thing. Oh yeah, Thor is. Where is he? He's busy, sadly. Can you send this back to him then? Sure, holding it with magic, saying, good, now. As Issei basically would proceed to go back, his thing. This is when they go to deal with, the first match. It's actually going it's actually going to be in a Sona versus Issei fight. Not Sona versus Issei, Sona versus Rias fight. Issei straight up just has to fight his group, and their power makes the heavenly dragon fight in the middle of the Great War look like a joke. Like, they are fighting like true powerhouses. The rest of the peerages are like almost evenly matched, but this is just an unfair fight. It's honestly just a full-on ass beating. Admittingly, Issei decides to do something unexpected. He used his full force, knocking his full team to the ground, saying, "Sorry, Rias, but I'm taking over." Rias kind of upset with this, saying, "Why?" "Because I am only a god." Fine. This is when, with zero fucks to give, the next day, Rias having to do like another fighting thing, Rias having to do her first fight before this. This is when that same dude kind of canceled their fight, just having all of his pieces promoted to queen, all his pawns promoted to queen, his rooks and knights were with them, his bishops and his queen herself was against that. Issei straight just appeared, yet a giant-ass roar to break the bonds that held Asya. And this is when he absolutely one-shot that little guy, that one that kidnapped Asya. This version, he stops. He was about to kill him, but he was stopped by Risei's wing, covering his eye. Him saying, "Risei, this one actually goes to you, pal. You got it." As he would proceed to just walk away. As Risei proceeds to beat this guy's ass. Lightning shocking the dude until he's basically a crisp on the ground. And Issei kind of messing with some shit. Then proceeding to pick up the entirety of, that basically proceed to pick up Asya right before anything happened. Right before Issei's able to touch her, to give her new clothes, she's hit with a basically destruction spell, which would actually send her into the dimensional gap. Because Great Red knows who the fuck this is, and he doesn't have a death wish, this still overwhelmed Issei, since he thought she's actually dead. "I'm going to end you." But he doesn't go into Juggernaut Drive. I mean, basically being a Juggernaut, though, since, he does turn into his dragon form. Risei isn't calm at all. He loses it. And they are ripping this guy apart and eating his organs. Like, they ripped him in half and ate him. At this point, going berserk, smashing the area around them, this is when Drake, Albion, Great Red, everyone just basically appears and says, "We got him." His friends actually going to their own dragon god forms and trying to fight, getting their ass whooped. But not really exhaustingly. As they were able to take down Issei, but not great. They're still able to do it, though. Once they actually are able to, take Issei down to the floor, noting it took everyone there. Like, it literally took everyone to do it. And Volley was the one who had to, and they straight up had to send Albion to go deal with, they straight up sent, actually no, I'm gonna say they sent Dre to go deal with, they sent Drake to go deal with Risei, because Issei was already being too much of a threat, and they needed Albion to go deal with that. Though, admittingly, yeah, it was a big ass fight, as this is when Issei would finally do it, as he apologized, Asya would still have to heal his ass, since he's still pretty badly beaten. Everyone else is injured almost beyond repair, but they are given Phoenix Tears. Issei was not, since he may go back into that Berserker form. Asya having to heal Risei and Issei right next to each other. At this point, Risei apologizes, and Issei does as well, saying they weren't trying to go berserk. Asya is kind of happy that they would do that for her, as basically giving Issei a kiss on the forehead, and giving Risei, just cuddling with Risei, since he's a dragon, her kind of familiar thing, so just holding him tight. This is when Issei did something unexpected. He used his full power. Because the next thing, Issei has to go deal with, Cyber-Org. And this is not going to be a fair fight. So, with this fight, there was a different thing. Cyber-Org, basically Cyber-Org's team they basically had a group v group, but Cyber-Org wasn't allowed to participate, nor was his pawn, since, that it was already revealed that that's a suit of armor for him, and Issei and Sona weren't allowed to participate until the end. Noting that Sona's team kind of got worked, not letting their familiars join in the fight. This is when they decide that if they want to make it a final fight, it would just be Issei versus Cyber-Org, and a re-healed version of Cyber-Org's team. Hearing this, Issei accepted, saying, "Let's go." As this happens, Cyber-Org barely did any damage to Issei in human form. He wasn't allowed to go into dragon form for this. So he was basically just going fight to fight. Using his dragonic armor, he starts actually fighting against a balance breaker Cyber-Org. And it's an almost even fight. Like, it's a fair-ass fight. But it's also kind of a bullshit one, too, since every punch can make the earth crack. This is when Issei decided something. He wouldn't kill Cyber-Org, but he wasn't exactly going to go unscathed, as they start to actually full force fight each other. Cyber-Org being knocked out on his feet. Right before Cyber-Org was able to get up, Issei decided to go over to his house and, use Buoy Lingual on his mom to get her back up after he'd already heard of this before the fight. Doing this, being that Issei didn't need the title Lucifer. He's already a dragon god. Why would he use a mere title? But he did note that Michael was starting to get extremely exhausted trying to take up the things. As a god himself, he knows how to handle it. So, what he does, he became the biblical god. His friends taking up the role of dragon god. Even though Issei is still a dragon god, them learning the ropes. If a miracle is needed and a dragon begs for it, or someone with a dragon-like gear, then they may allow it with their powers. Issei, who is now literally known as the strongest, and that's literally his title, basically uses that to his advantage every other day. Like, he uses it to help him beat the shit out of everyone. And it works very, very fucking well. Admittingly, not against everyone, though. Most, yes, not everyone. As Issei still had to have a kind of fight with Volley, Drake and Albion getting to finally settle their fight. Drake barely won, and they stopped fighting. That's it. This is the end of the series. I'm sorry, guys. Part 3 is the final part. That's the end completely to what if Issei and Saji swapped places. We'll swap masters. Bye, guys.